Okay, and we're going. So, second episode for Dark Souls 2. Hoping the servers... I'm gonna start it like this every time just to see if the servers are going. Because why not? Finally got the first video up, and the audio is quite low on that one. I probably need to go back and re-upload. But this little experiment of putting a video together to begin with and just getting good quality on YouTube was interesting, if only to see how much time that takes. Yeah, I'm gonna need to... almost more than half a day. So, yeah, I'm gonna... But I can probably set the computer up to do that in the background now, from now on, so if I do these early enough during the day. I'm trying to remember now exactly how far in we were. We got the shortcut opened up. I don't think we ever bought that Ferrous Lockstone, but I don't really need the slab quite yet. You haven't done the stuff with Pate yet. Man, we haven't done this yet. It's always cool if you can get that one guy there. It reminds me of the traps at the beginning of Sin's Fortress in Dark Souls 1. You could always get one of the snake men to hit one of those. Yeah. Definitely recommend careful doing this. I'm sure more than one player has gotten killed by all these ballistas set up here. Pretty sure you can actually lure one of the turtle guards over in a different part of the map to the ballistas if you want to, though that does seem like a little more trouble than it's worth. I probably will come back down here for the Ferrous Lockstone. I know there is, I want to say it's like a ring and a slab that's behind there. It's a trap chest, just roll away, no problem. Shards, I think? Yeah. And this one is way less obvious than any other door, but if you take the same sort of mentality of, hey, let's try knocking it down, you have a chance of randomly discovering that, hey, maybe they'll come open it. Which is kind of goofy, all things considered, but still. Puzzling. Puzzle souls. Oh. I got a little bit careless there. Just getting a little bit too anxious here. Too busy trying to feel like I need to speed run or something. Is it a weapon or is it crafting material? I can't remember what's in here. Life ring and Lord Shard. Okay, cool. We don't have any rings yet, huh? So yeah, why not? I'm not entirely sure how to feel about the 4-ring setup for Dark Souls 2. I feel like it's a good thing, if only for more customization. I don't know. It feels kind of like a 3-ring setup sometimes, though, with Ring of Life Protection. I like messing around with that. And that in and of itself is kind of a crutch in some ways, but anyways.
Hello there. Traveling all alone in these treacherous times. Well, I hope you have a very good reason. Oh, hogwash. Who am I to judge? My name is Pate. I journey hither and thither on a sort of treasure hunt, you might call it. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself. Oh yes, you be cautious if you go any farther. There's treasure in there for certain, but the entrance locks from behind. I saw the same design earlier, and it's the same contraption, I'm sure. I was with this warrior, you see, and he insisted that he go inside first. The rather brusque fellow tried to swipe the loot for himself, but it trapped him inside. I still have the gent's ring. I do hope he wasn't harmed. I'll leave this one to you. I'm worried about what might be inside.
I'm trying to remember what the name of the voice actor is that does it. The only thing I know of any work that he does, he was the annoyed roommate and first zombie in Shaun of the Dead with your stupid hip-hop. It's not hip hop, it's electro. Yeah, I don't know. I like it. It almost feels too good for a Souls game. I'm not saying the acting is bad for Souls game, but there is an almost sort of campy B-level kind of attribute to some of the Souls voice acting that has been in the Souls series. And I guess, like, on the topic, probably the most interesting, like, recent development in terms of stuff from Souls news. Well, there's been two, really. There's the acquisition of From Software by Kadokawa Studios in Japan. Kadokawa being a pretty big company, especially compared to FromSoft. If you like manga, a bit of anime, you might know of them. They haven't had many forays into video games. I think most of the stuff that they've done has been publishing for some of Suda51 games, Grasshopper Manufacturer, particularly Lollipop Chainsaw and Killer is Dead, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people have been speculating that this is them trying to branch into more sort of game dev stuff to get big things. And the other thing that sort of pairs up with it now is the leak shots from, everybody keeps saying, an anonymous message board, which essentially ends up always being 4chan, more or less. As well as some NeoGAF stuff as well. Oh yeah, secret passage over here. If you're online, you'll know about that. I'm not a big fan of the illusionary walls having to press A as opposed to just attacking, but, you know, once you figure it out, it's not too bad. It's just kind of a weird change-up from the original Dark Souls. Let's go get the rest of Pate's dialogue here, and then I'll talk a little bit more about Project Beast.
Well, I see you managed to escape. I hope that brave warrior didn't come a cropper.
What is a cropper?
Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself. Oh, but you should take this. It allows undead to call out for help to one another across the fissures between worlds. With luck, somebody will lend you a hand. Well,
okay, that's all it is. Yeah. And if you want to continue, like, Pate's storyline, you have to exhaust this dialogue. You don't necessarily have to go through the entire trap over there. In fact, it's kind of implied that Pate sort of throws the switch there to get you killed. But we're going to play a little bit safe here. Just rest. You do need to exhaust all of his dialogue, though, not only to get that white stepstone, which is super important for some covenants, but yeah, in order to have him pop up as a summon for the last giant, because he needs to participate in that fight if you want to get his set for free. Granted, him like participating in the fight is not necessary to continue the storyline, but it does get you some extra items. Of like the usefulness though is sort of questionable. I know some people like the Ring of Thorns. Pate's spear seems to be pretty good, all things considered. See, I'm not gonna go in there. I am gonna go around to get some of these undead though. I have not tried any dex builds with Pate's spear. That might be something I give it a shot with. Yeah, I said on like the first video and in the YouTube comment of the video that I was gonna try going Dex Faith, though it's been pretty nice to just use this mace again. I don't know, change it up. Faith though does seem to be something I'm gonna put it into. I've done at least one other Faith build, and it's a pretty reliable way to do some damage. It gives you a lot of options. Granted, you don't get the weapon buff until much later, Sunlight Blade. Which, when you can start comparing it to like Dark build, for example, that's one thing I feel like Dark has had is you can get Dark weapon buff pretty easily, and Magic weapon buff for that matter. And if you're using the right weapons, they can be quite good. Make this jump. Oh yeah, so let's talk about Project Beast right now. I think it's been like something like 5, maybe 7 screenshots leaked along with a NeoGAF user talking about huge pyromancy, shotguns, this is a nightmare, that kind of thing. I'm cautiously optimistic, like I want to say most of the Souls community right now. The screenshots look too, I guess, looks like they have too much production value for them to be fake. I mean, if they are, then kudos to whoever doctored those up. Especially the screenshot of the fog door. That seems to be like the most damning evidence of this is a new Souls-style game. I don't know if I necessarily believe it's Demon Souls 2. There is some good arguments for and against it. The styling seems so off to me, especially like I'm not somebody who's like, no, there can't be shotguns in Souls universe. I feel like that any timeline that goes on long enough without these mass extinction events, like, yes, eventually somebody's going to develop guns sooner or later. Balancing in combat, it seems kind of interesting, like how they might do that, but having a sort of modified, or what the range system already is, seems totally legit, like something that they could do. And yeah, if you want to make it like Demon Souls 2, there's some... End of Demon Souls. You managed to banish the old one, the beast, more or less, if you want. It says that it takes away soul arts from the universe when the beast leaves. The old one. Messing up the name here. Which would kind of make sense for... I'm gonna get my ass kicked here already. Would kind of make sense for the necessity of new technology to replace the soul arts. Like, when they're gone, then you have, like I said, the sort of steampunk Victorian era vibe going on. That kind of works for me. I kind of get that. The name of the title as well, like, has with the two biggest, like, items and lore-wise in Demon Souls. This is the revelation of, let's see if I get this, that God in that universe and, missed it. I might try it again. And the old one are one and the same, and that soul arts, sorceries, are actually from the same, they're basically the same branch of magic as miracles, which the church, more or less, was sort of at the throat of soul arts users. One of them, and were at odds, more or less. But both of those end up getting taken away. If you bring the beast back, then maybe you have soul arts reintroduced, or maybe they're just smaller, more hidden covens, practitioners. In fact, something would be, maybe an interesting sort of take on it would be that perhaps you have an inquisition that goes on past when soul arts leave everything, and so miracles for that matter. Like maybe the church trying to save faith, or fate, or face. Faith. When they can no longer reproduce the same miracles that they're known for. Talisman of Beasts also is the thing that ends up revealing all of these sort of plot elements here. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but let's see if we can get a summon sign and take us down there. Yeah, so like that would make some sense. The idea of nightmare, though, doesn't really fit into any kind of Souls thing, which kind of would, sort of lean towards the argument of, hey, maybe this is an entirely new IP. And the timing, like I said, the acquisition by Kadokawa, as well as like Sony trying to give people a reason to buy a PS4. Like, I don't own a PS4. I've decided to spend the money this generation for making a good PC, and the investment has been pretty good for me so far. But this could be something that would totally, egg on a lot more people to buy the PS4 because people of the Soul series are dedicated. I need to turn the voice chat off. I'm pretty sure the voice chat only works if you have Ring of Whispers, but somebody could totally be listening to me right now doing this, which would be kind of funny. But it's whatever. The upper body of the Last Giant is way more active and moving than I remember. Okey-doke. Let's not get swiped. Arm gives you like a second to get some free attacks in, but he gets much greater attack range with that thing up. And I'm out of charges, so... Having any kind of shield, though, typically will drain all of your stamina, but, you know, better than getting smashed. Hey, what are you doing? Yeah, no problem. So, thank you, Atria. Yep, your head's in the wall. Something that's been weird about coming back into an area with enemies is they often respawn with their heads in the wall. I don't know why. Another thing I like note, just for people that are curious about the Talisman of Beast item, is a catalyst in the original Demon Souls that would allow you to cast both miracles and sorceries from the same thing. It's very similar to the Lady of Blackstaff in this game. I knew I was forgetting something. We're gonna go get that crystal lizard. Though throwing a lightning bolt at it might be easier. And we're going to get the regeneration ring in just a sec. Come on. There you go. There's nothing too wonderful, 2 shards. If you have an early weapon you know you want to use, then hop on it. The Barbed Club. I can't remember what the moveset's like. I know it is a quality weapon. But it looks like its scaling and stats were actually pretty good. Kind of the short sword, more or less. Over here. There's been some playthroughs I've forgotten about this ring. It is definitely, like, handy. End up healing you more than you might imagine. It's kind of weird to me, honestly, to get a passive regeneration item this early in the game. The Ring of Restoration. It doesn't seem that fragile to me. The like second and third Drake rings, on the other hand, seem much more fragile by comparison. But yeah, it's you know, it's good. Something I wish. Something I wish you could turn off in the UI was the regeneration elements. I know there are mods out there right now that will let you do that. But at the same time, I'm somewhat hesitant of using any kind of mod at the moment until the VAC stuff for Dark Souls gets cleared out. People that don't know, Super Bunny Hop is a really good video on this, but essentially people that are VAC banned on Steam for whatever reason were having trouble connecting to Dark Souls servers, and the game is not advertised as being like VAC protected, essentially, which is a pretty big concern for some people. They would buy a product, and I argue to this day that a large portion of the Dark Souls experience is the online experience, and not being able to participate in it. That would be fine if it was advertised on the box as such, but there was no mention at all that this would, being VAC banned, would prevent you from playing. Yeah, I do think that there should be some degree of, you know, effort on the developers to root out cheaters, more or less. I've run into maybe 1-2 hackers so far in terms of PvP. I'm able to pretty quickly recognize that that's the case, and not just jump off a cliff and be done with it. Yeah, like the fact that getting a back ban is so easy, especially if you're like a modder. If you play Skyrim or anything like that, and you're not using like the script extender to load, you're loading through Steam, there's a pretty good chance that you might end up getting a false positive on a back ban, and the fact that Steam just back bans the account without any kind of investigation and no way to reverse it. Kind of a problem. So yeah, I would like to get the mod to get rid of the ring effects, but I will just wait until that all gets sorted out. Is it a slab and a ring? I think it's the Chloranthy ring. Yeah, that's a good one. I do like rings with the passive effects myself, though, in terms of like what they do show up on your character. I just don't like the visual effect. That's all. Yeah. Whew. So I'm trying to make up my mind right now if I want to go take on the Pursuer, which is not really like high on my priority of list of things I feel like doing right now. Not necessarily that the Pursuer is hard, but a little bit time consuming, for one thing. And if you start summoning in people, you gotta be careful where you fight them, just because there's a very good chance somebody will ballista you to death. Maybe not on purpose, but still. I'm really betting that the microphone now is going to actually be picking me up drinking.
Is that a shop? Here. To see, however.
For people that are wondering, it's not sophisticated tea like other streamers, but it's vanilla Coke. Let's see, what can I do? I can bring my attunement up and get force, which would be good. My endurance is incredibly low. I didn't mention this last episode. One thing I absolutely love about the way the interface is done this time around is that you can see what stats get affected by leveling up with the highlight, which is super awesome. Even still, though, there are some things they don't tell you. For example, you see that endurance will increase poise, and it's doing that, and when I go to 5, it doesn't seem to do it. But what you don't realize is that you have to level up adaptability and poise at roughly the same rate. So as long as they're on even kilter, they level up together. And that's the same for fire bonus, for dark bonus. Yeah, just these like little, there's still little esoteric things in the game that people don't realize. Took some testers a little while to figure out, like mundane stones, for example. Did I get liver recipe? Yes, I did. Okay.
Ah, yes, very good. Now I can get to work. But first, let me set up. Come again later.
He's a brusque fellow. Looks like one of the dwarves on the Archstones from Demon Souls. It makes me wonder that if From had the rights to Demon Souls, would they have just made Dark Souls, Demon Souls 2 and 3? Would they ever, mess around with the story to get it to work like that? Personally, I don't know. It seems like sort of standalone titles I kind of like a little bit better. It was nice having a new bit of lore going from Demon Souls to Dark Souls. And there are interesting hooks between Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, but the connections seem tenuous to me sometimes.
Oh, hello there. An honor to see you again. This room is not as it seems. There are 2, not 1 pathways leading out, and only this lovely thing reveals the other path. And this, you lovely thing, only runs on memories.
Right.
Shall I provide you with one?
Did she have the Emit Force spell? Do I even want to spend money on Emit Force? Sure, why
May the power offer your souls to the gods.
We'll get her to move the contraption, just because we gotta get it done at some point. I still have not burned that dust yet. I'll do that after I get this next bonfire.
Just speak up if you're in need of miracles. That's why I'm here, after
Does she have a gesture? No, I guess not. It's a miracle! Seriously, I don't see why the mouse needs to be on the screen like that.
Go ahead then. May the power of miracles be with you.
And it was road water. Yay. Or is that rouge? I think it's rouge. It's gonna bug me. It's gotta be rouge. Yeah. I think rogue is R-O-G-U-E. I should know this. I've played World of Warcraft for way too long not to know the difference between rogue and rouge. This is the way to the Huntsman's Copse. Kind of critical if you are a dark user. You can talk to Falcon the Outcast here. We're not really going to need to talk to him at all. We might end up murdering him at this rate just to get his hat. Because that gives you extra spell cast, but we'll hold off on that for now. I think the item discovery rate is nice. Go ahead and burn this dust. Let's open up the Sentinels. Oh, get some free souls by doing that. It's not exactly progression per se, but the vendor does sell bolt stones, which will be useful later for making some lightning weapons, which basically are your faith scaling tools for this game. And elemental weapons, especially if you start looking at like PvP, pretty much all the rage. I see dark weapon used a ton. I used it myself for one character. It's pretty damn good. Magic weapon, not so much. Don't see fire weapon at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure you need the soul of the Witch's Soul, the extra boss soul that you get off of the Lost Center, which that fight gets modified to be quite a bit tougher with the extra ads and whatnot. Really probably need the lights on for that. Like, oh, there goes. I think I put a little bit more for my stamina. As compared to some other fights, though, when you bring into New Game Plus, for example, the Rotten just deals more damage, from what I can tell. I've only done a few of them myself. I haven't done, like, the Duke's Dear Freya, for example, in New Game Plus. I haven't done Old Iron King, but I'm pretty sure Old Iron King also stays the same from what I've seen. Or Icarus Earth, as he used to be called. Did we get both of them? Looks like we got. Okay, there we go. Really should have just put some. Should have just put a few shards into this mace here. There was some in here. It's gone now. There we go. It was me trying to get a lightning bolt off. I will say this, most of the enemies have way better tracking in this game than any other Souls game that I can remember. Like if you're a melee-only person when you get up to some of the later game guys, just good luck. Some of them are just borderline broken. I really am the proponent that you need some sort of ranged attack. I have a big, like, two-hander weapon build guy that I'm messing around with right now, for example, and some of the later game stuff is getting kind of rough with not having a bow for him, but there are options for just about everybody, honestly. Even, like, pure strength builds are going to want some dexterity, like 16, 18, something like that, for some of your options. And for dex builds, the strength requirements on bows are always half of what they're shown, just because you always need two hands to use the bow anyway. And then you got lightning, and then you got fire, and then you got dark, and then you got magic, so not much excuse, really. Do we see any summons? Yes, we do. My first playthrough of the game on 360 I did without any kind of like actual online help. Trying to... I don't know if I had Xbox Live at the time, that might have been what it was. Oh well. This guy right here, he's not too tough. He is on me though, like crazy. And draining all my stamina, not giving me a chance to heal. But if I just keep baiting, there we go. Definitely was cool to see, and sort of like a little bit of a jaw drop. Coming in blind for this. This guy was here, and it does sort of emphasize how less difficult, I'm not saying that right, just how much easier Smog and Nortine would have been separate. Like Phase 2 of Smog and Nortine I always felt was way easier by comparison than Phase 1. But yeah, that guy's just kind of a gimme, honestly. I don't think we have any tokens of fidelity at the moment.
Transient being, this is no place for one such as you. Be gone. You are not needed.
Well, get a token later at some point. You can find both a token of fidelity and a token of spite in the actual game world, both of which are used to require the Blue Sentinels and the Brotherhood of Blood. So that's like not a problem for joining those, which is nice. Especially if you like want the achievements, for example. I haven't done much with the Brotherhood of Blood yet. There are some interesting things there. If you wanted to be a bleed build, for example, getting their signet would be something worth doing. Let's go do No Man's Wharf now. I don't even know how long this has been running. If anything, I should be doing shorter videos. You know what, actually, yeah, let's go ahead and call that here. The first video was like an hour, but shorter the video is, the easier it is going to be for editing. We come back, I should probably spend those souls, and then we'll do No Man's Wharf, get ourselves a few items down there, and then probably go do the Pursuer. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and see you next time.